The reason they actually called it that, it was meant to be Trick or Treat, but there was already a film from the 80s called Trick or Treat that's like a weird rock. It's like a rock star accidentally dies or like kills himself, and then this kid is like playing his music and accidentally brings him back to life. It's bizarre. It's not very good over. Let's not talk about that. Sorry.
Wait. That's not the film we were talking about? Because that's the film I watched. Okay, I might be a bit useless in this discussion, guys.
You can talk about that one if you want.
Hello to all the creepy boys and girls. This is the Well Good Movies Spooky Halloween special with your hosts Craig McDonald and David Oscar, and the special guests Lucifer and Shelley Taylor. For all your spooky and creepies, you listen to the podcast now. Happy Halloween!
Hello and welcome to Well Good Movies, our Halloween special. This is the podcast that gives you the topics worth discussing and the creepy movies worth watching. And today we certainly have a lot of movies that we'll be going through. Some we'll be recommending, some perhaps not, but you shall see what we got in store later on. And as that intro said, I am Count David Oscar. I am joined by Craig, he who walks behind the rose, McDonald, as my co-host. It's only just begun, guys.
Welcome to the execution of your reckoning.
The execution of my reckoning, so the end of my reckoning.
Yes.
So it's not that scary.
We've broken them. We've absolutely broken Shelley. This is only the beginning, guys. It's only the beginning.
The problem is me and Shelley are too easy to break.
Right, so we are coming to you guys from that most creepy thing that is lockdown. Woo! And yes, you know, Craig has already set up his scarecrow to warn off people from his house, or it might just be me. I'm not sure which, but, you know, we're in the Halloween spirit today. We're all dressed up in our casual come Halloween costumes, which are perfect for lockdown. And yeah, we are joined by two very special guests today. They are two guests that joined us on another holiday special, and we just had to have them back for another one because they were so much fun. So please welcome our very own Jigsaw, who likes to torture us with Adam Sandler films. It is Shelley Taylor. Hi. And if you are thinking this year of going as coronavirus to Halloween, then this is the person to ask for costume tips because they have already dressed as Miss Rona. It is drag artist Lucifer.
Bonsoir!
Guys, we had to have you back because there's been some crazy moments that we had from your Valentine's episode. We had so much fun on that one. In that episode, you know, we said afterwards, is there anything that you would particularly want to do again? And you both said horror because you both love that genre of filmmaking. So yeah, happy to have you back. Happy to have the Halloween spirit with, you know, cats and, you know, all that kind of stuff as well.
So sorry about my cat. If it helps, he is an entirely black cat, so it is kind of Halloween.
Yeah, it's Binks from Hocus Pocus.
I did nearly call him Binks.
Aww.
I called him Bassy instead. I wanted to call him Shirley, like Shirley Bassey, because I love her so much. But he was a boy, and I gave in to the patriarchy, and I was like, you can't call a boy Shirley, so I called him Bassy.
Called it Bassy.
Bassy. Bassy is a lovely.
That's a boy's name.
Bassy.
If anyone has heard our highlights, you know that you made a big impact to the show ever since then. You know, we have obviously our classic jokes such as the Sycorax.
We still talk about that to this day. We were going to do a Sycorax only podcast.
It's literally every single episode is just like, how would the Sycorax fit into this film?
But yeah, before we go on to our Halloween-themed films today, that's why I just wanted to sort of revisit some of those jokes as we have, because they have, lapsed into many other episodes and even other podcasts. So for an example, guys, this is when me and Craig were on a different podcast called the Dan and Joe Film Show, in which even there, the madness of that Valentine's episode was making an impact.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's going to be a great show. I can feel it in me bones. Gobble, gobble.
Forces of nature, man. What a film.
Exactly.
So, Lucy, I'll come to you first, because we were talking when we were preparing this episode about how crazy it is that was back in February. Like you said, that feels like months or years. Well, it is months ago. Sorry, it feels like years ago. And yeah, that's been the conversation for a lot of content and media at the moment. I heard it on the radio the other day, people talking about music that come out in January. It's crazy. How do you feel looking back on that episode now?
It's just really weird. Like, we were all in very different places, weren't we? I still cared, so I was in full drag. Not that I'm not today. I'm actually in some of the most elaborate and elegant drag that I've ever done. And it's almost too beautiful to show, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why we're not going to show how amazing the drag I'm currently in is.
Same.
Yeah, like, we've all really worn our best today. Our best feet forward. I definitely don't have a swollen pussy eye. Although that's kind of Halloween, isn't it? Yeah, it's really weird. This is like the strangest time I've ever lived through. But like, it's just weird. Everything's really weird. I'm drinking a lot more. I started OnlyFans. Can I promote my OnlyFans here?
If it gets you through lockdown, why not?
It's good money.
On the comedy side of things, you were obviously using lockdown as a great time to use your drag. There were many elaborate costumes. I love the massive admiral's hat that you had on during one of your live streams. There were many crazy outfits that came about during that time.
I'm a fan of a big hat. And the bigger your hat is, the smaller you look. And as a suspiciously large woman, I just thought, if I have a hat that's 4 foot across and 3 foot tall, perception will make it look like I'm this tiny little dainty woman, when in fact I'm this grotesque husking monster of a person. So that was fun. What else did I do? I was Miss Rona. That was fun. Oh, I've done loads. It got a bit silly towards the end, didn't it? So then I had to stop. I was like, nah, this is too. I'm doing this once a week. I'm working full time. I've got to make my porn. You know what I mean? It was just too much. So now I'm just, focusing on the main stuff, spending time with friends and family, and just, making this porn.
The commitment was commendable for just the amount of variety of costumes, and that is on your YouTube. I think you have a montage of the entire live streams.
I've got, YouTube and Facebook is where all my live streams are.
It feels weird saying that it was in February this year, because it just feels like a different decade now. Just life is so weird and different and confusing, and
a time in which we could actually meet in a room. It's now you would be like, oh my god, somebody's hugging on television, what are they doing? Whereas back then we were happily being handshaking, and it's bizarre.
That's why none of us mind noisy cats in the background. It's something that society's actually become really used to.
We're going to have a lot of fun today, though, guys, because we are talking about horror films that are perfect for Halloween. There seems to be a theme of trick-or-treating in a lot of these films, and they're from different decades. We got the 80s represented, we got the mid-2000s, and we've got a very new film which also ties into another theme that we've had one of our previous guests involved with as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun talking through all of those. But before we get on to that, I wanted to use this chance, as we have in other specials before where we have experts in a genre. I wanted to use this chance to test Lucy and Shelley on their opinions of some classic horror villains. So this is just going to be a quick little warm-up taster game. Now, if you remember in the Valentine's episode, we had the ooh and, boo, that. Do you remember that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So we're doing the same kind of thing here with Halloween, and the equivalent of ooh and boo is woo and boo. But it's in the ghostly way. So the warm-up game is called Woo or boo. So what I want you to do is either give a woo or a boo for the villains that I am going to mention. So as I name them, just give a woo or a boo for whether you like them or whether you don't like them, and we'll get a feeling for what you are as horror fans. Right, so are we ready? Woos or boos at the ready? The Thing.
Woo!
The Fly.
Woo!
No.
Carrie.
Woo!
Woo!
Mama.
Boo.
I've not seen it.
It's all right. It's the Guillermo del Toro one, right?
Yeah, they're like creepy, like on her hands kind of thing.
Boo.
Honey Boo Boo. Freddy Krueger.
Woo!
Woo.
Jason.
Woo!
Michael Myers.
Woo!
And Katie Hopkins.
Oh, boo. Oh, you really had to bleep me.
Oh yeah.
I booed over you.
Can I say, what I loved at that point, Shelley decided to create the third option of ew.
yeah. That would be legitimate for Katie Hopkins, to be fair.
Ew.
Today we are talking about perfect Halloween films, perfect horror examples, apart from maybe this first example, which is a throwback to our Adam Sandler special. We had to bring up this film because we were tortured with Adam Sandler before, during the summer, and he's just come out with a Halloween film. So what more perfect time to bring up Hubie Halloween, which has just come out on Netflix. So Shelley, introduce us please to this joyous film, and yeah, not so much a scary film, but very much a Halloween film. Takes place in Salem, trick-or-treating, all that kind of stuff.
Can I just say, I was done with Adam Sandler. I'd shut him out of my brain, and I didn't even know that he had a Halloween film out. Craig, do not blame this on me. I did not suggest this film. It's a Netflix-made film this year called Hubie Halloween with Adam Sandler and all of his super famous friends who, for some reason, keep accepting scripts from him. And it's all right. I mean, I've watched a lot of Adam Sandler, and it wasn't the worst I'd seen. But, that's not much of a yardstick.
The jokes are just so predictable. The beginning of the film, when he's like looking at the woman, and I was like, he's about to hit into a car, and lo and behold, he hits into a car on his bicycle. It's very predictable.
I mean, the cast was so predicting that when they literally introduced a character wearing a pig mask, I basically said, right, who hasn't appeared in this film so far, and who's like, I'm going to say
Robbie!
Rob Schneider. There he is. Because it was a toss-up between him and
There he
David
is.
Spade.
When I started watching it, you know the opening bit with Ben Stiller, and he's like the security guards?
Yeah.
So that bit, it was so like camp and over the top and like Halloween-y. I thought, okay, so they've done like a B movie, like it's meant to be ridiculous, but it's like high budget. Like I love that when like they have a budget of like several million, but they're like, oh yeah, we're going to make it like a B movie. I kind of love that. I think there's something really cool about that, especially with like comedy horror. And even like Ben Stiller in that, because I don't like Ben Stiller if I'm honest, but even Ben Stiller in that, I was like, this could be quite fun actually. And then it just went downhill so quickly. I couldn't finish it. It's very rare that I can't finish a film. Like I like bad films, but like this was like so bad I couldn't even enjoy it for being bad. Ugh.
But the thing with Ben Stiller's character in that is that it's the same character from Happy Gilmore. So like it is literally like Adam Sandler's attempt to trying to turn his films into, because I've heard about this, he's trying to turn it into a cinematic universe.
It's the new MCU. It's
and I'm just like, dude, stop, right? I do not want to ever live in a world in where there could potentially be a film where half of your absolute kid characters can come together and wind me up with their voices. Because especially...
No, don't you remember the Adam Sandler special? I said that was Grown Ups 2, in which they had the endgame fight at the end of Grown Ups 2. So we've had that bit, that that's the prequel. They've already done that.
The fact that basically we got unlucky in that the Adam Sandler shit voice roulette gave us that, like, really... just gave it that typical typical stupid voice that he does, which allows him to be emotionless. I don't understand why he's doing it to himself, especially considering he hasn't long done Uncut Gems, which everyone was like, yeah, this is really good form for him. And it's just, why are you trying to ruin that for yourself, for God's sake?
It's just a cash grab. Like, he probably had a tax bill and was like, oh no. And then he looks over on his nightstand and there's a letter from Netflix being like, hey, Adam, do you want to make a film? And he's like, may as well.
Yeah. Well, is it one of his contracted films? Because didn't I say in the Adam Sandler episode he has like a 5-movie contract with them at the minute or something? So maybe he's there's gonna be a Christmas film, isn't there? I'm sorry, Craig. I'll be back for the Christmas special. With the Adam Sandler Christmas film. In fact, should we just come up with it now? So Rob Schneider plays Santa Claus.
He did have what was that? He did have an animated Christmas film. So I was thinking this in my mind.
8 Nights.
Yeah. So I was thinking we might be safe in that aspect.
Oh, that Hanukkah film.
Yeah. So it's like, we might be safe in that. And he actually does have a line in this, doesn't he, where the mother says, oh, well, you can't celebrate other holidays because you're Jewish, etc. So, we might be like spared, from that. But yeah, it does come across as like Sandler's being like, yeah, we're going to have, a Halloween film, then a Valentine's film, then, an Easter film. And
I didn't watch the whole film. I gave up.
I envy you.
I gave up when he was in like a corn maze and there were teenagers getting killed. I literally turned it off at that point.
Okay.
I feel like I got further than like I should have. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the character he's playing special needs? Because I very much felt like it was like you're like playing a special needs character, which like isn't okay. And if it's like, oh, I'm not playing a special needs character, it's like, okay, but why are you doing that voice? Why are you making these decisions? Like,
it seems to be quite a trope of his to do a voice like that in order to garner sympathy rather than writing a particularly good character. So it's always like a guy who kind of loves his mama and he's a bit southern and, it's Waterboy. He even had some stained sheets in it that I noticed.
I had the same feelings as Lucy, though. I was kind of like, this comes across as a bit more bad taste because it's very much, and kind of similar, like you said, to Waterboy, which, we brought up in that episode, is the fact that when everyone is so against him and throwing things at him and being horrible to him, I'm like, this is really, I was like, how is this funny? It's not funny to see somebody who, like Lucy says, potentially has special needs.
It's like, oh, his voice is annoying and he says stupid, annoying things. Throw things at him. It's okay, that's not okay.
So you didn't watch to the end of the film, and it kind of, the ending is about like bullying. I kind of liked the ending. I don't know.
I actually felt that was I do think I agree with you.
I
think it is worth watching, Lucy, because I have never seen such a juxtaposed ending to, like, it is schmaltzy and cheesy and crap, but I was like, what is this film? This ending has no right to be on the back of this film because, like you said, it was just awful up until that point. And I was like, this is actually a really nice message, and it would work better if Adam Sandler's character wasn't so terrible. And I was like, but if they wanted to make a serious film, I was like, this actually would have worked better as a serious film. I think it works because June Squibb is playing the mother, and when I first started watching I was like, why is June Squibb in this? She's such a good actress. Why have you brought yourself to this level? But then when it comes to the end, I was like, oh, okay, actually I see why you got June Squibb, because she is actually bringing quite a understandable performance to this.
Yeah.
Okay, so but the only reason I disagree with the ending being quite nice is that I understand the sentiment of you're basically picking on him and you don't understand why. You need to evaluate your reasons. Two problems I then have with this, because it basically means it's like Adam Sandler basically ducking out on his own potential good message. One, the reasons that like the people were giving for why they don't like him are basically just bone dead stupid, to the point of I think anyone could literally justify their actions by saying, oh, well, my reason for disliking this person are nowhere near as stupid as he uses big words like I can't.
Yeah, Ray Liotta.
Yeah, Ray Liotta talking about not being able to use big words, or the guy who's dressed as Freddie Mercury in the cornfields basically saying, yeah, I always have to act cool, and he does. The second thing I also don't like about it is the fact that this is said to basically 4 people out of a town who all universally hate this guy. And even then, you still see people being bad towards him at the end of the film, at which point I'm just like, what's the point of that then? Like, if it's going to be that sort of message, it needs to be widespread. You can't just be like, you lot need to stop picking him. And it's like, okay, we will. Don't bother about the rest, giving them the message, but you still have people being like, you suck. I mean, yes, the kids at the end, like, stop chasing him on the bikes. I get that. And somehow he's become mayor. But I just don't see the widespreadness of the message just actually getting out like that.
Sorry, he becomes mayor of Salem, Massachusetts.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Wow.
They make him a sash. He makes out with a camera declaring his love for Valentine, and
I like Julie Bowen. I like Julie Bowen a lot.
Yeah, I think she knew what the film she was in, like Lucy said as well, about being like, it's a B movie. She kind of like felt as if she was acting as if she knew she was in that. But what I was going to say with the sort of people talking about why they make fun of him, I think, again, that was like nice in its intention. But like Craig said, is, if they did something like, oh, well, I'm jealous that you're close to your mother, that might have been. But again, that's why I'm like, you should have taken this for an actual serious film.
It's all clearly ableist stuff, like the way you speak.
Like, it's a lot of ableism.
You shuffle about.
Yeah, and it's just comes across as just like, oh, what can we think off the top of our head? Oh yeah, there was a joke about like that couple not having like a good sex life, and it's like try and force that into it somehow. And yeah, like Craig said, it's just bizarre that I was thinking of like when Craig was talking about a Disney bowling movie a few weeks ago, the fact that like it's like weird that like only these certain kids and this certain family are the only ones who like him in the entire town. And I'm like, why would the entire town hate him? I'm like, what kind of like crazy town would be? Not because like he's an awful person, because like they're like, oh, he's weird, so everyone like throws stuff at him.
Like,
so
there are loads of illegitimate people for not liking him, right? And I think it's fair to go for that, but I think it is also fair to like look at the fact that in his attempt to try and protect everyone from Halloween, he does some really dickish things. Like, he tries to shove a silver bullet between the eyes of someone's dog. He basically goes around a party stealing drinks off people and basically like shoving people away from each other. Like, he does some things which I think, I think it is okay to not like this guy for this. Like, you can have good intentions, but you've got to learn this is not the way you do this.
I was on the side of the little girl who, after he told her off for taking more than one sweet and then he got attacked, she just like laughed and carried on putting sweets in her bucket. Like,
yeah.
Hey.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? You get that weird mix of sometimes you're like, no, these people are assholes because he's doing the right thing, and then sometimes like he does like horrible things.
Yeah,
it's a really inconsistent message.
Yeah, exactly. I'll also say for the only other redeeming part I found is that I did actually enjoy the Swiss Army. What's it called? Thermos was ridiculous at first, but the more they did it, I was like, okay, this is kind of funny when he used it as a grappling hook. But I'll say the one joke that I thought I was like, that is actually really clever and it was funny, but they didn't give it time, which is why it was funny. I was like, if only this film had the restraint that this moment had, and I don't know if Sandler came up with it, is when he was going to the toilet and the thermos was a candle. I was like, that is funny. That is good. I thought that was quite hilarious. But it was just there on the side. They made no reference to it, didn't say anything. But I was like, that is quite a funny joke. But that's literally... That and the fact that they did red herring the crazy people was the two things I'll commend it for. I was actually quite surprised by that.
Another thing that annoyed me about this film, that I see a lot in film and television, is, the mum from Modern Family?
Yeah, sure.
Right, she's in it, yeah? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, like, really fit. Yep. And then her husband is that police officer?
Yeah, Kevin James.
But then also, I assume by the end she ends up with Adam Sandler?
Correct.
Yeah, she's kissing him while he's kissing the camera.
Okay, if I looked like her, do you think Adam Sandler would have a chance in hell at getting into my knickers? Like, if I looked like her, it would be like Brad Pitt and Up. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is gorgeous.
He just casts the most beautiful women and then...
I hate it. I hate that, like, I've lived in the real world for some time now, and that doesn't happen.
What's it like?
Not great, to be honest. But, like, when you see couples, it's generally, like, it's rare that you look at them and it's like, oh, you're the hot one, and you're, like, dog ugly. Like, it's very rare that you see that. And when you do see that, it's like, oh, you're rich, or you're very funny, or you have a massive song. But, like, I don't understand why this, like, stunning woman who, like, from the little bit that I did watch, she didn't seem awful, but she's like, oh, yeah, this guy with, like, the weird voice who everyone in the town hates. I'm going to bang him.
Well,
like, there's just something about that I'm really into. I don't get it. No.
Says that she's been in love with him since first grade.
Yeah, but then he aged into whatever that thing that he is now is.
They make out that she was in love with him before him, which is even harder to buy into. So it's not even like, Spider-Man and Mary Jane, where it's just like, yeah. So that's really hard to buy. Also, that reminded me of the people you saying about the people in the town. And that, again, adds to this mixed message of, like, are they arseholes? Is Hubie generally just, like, a annoying person? But when it's not even stuff targeted at Hubie, when they're picking on that girl for being a foster child, I was like, where in the world would somebody pick on somebody and the mother, because they say to her, I'm like,
I would so pick on someone being a foster child. Do you have any idea what children are like?
No, I get the children.
No, I get the children thing, but again, it was like even like one of the mothers said like, "Oh, well, at least I have my own and stuff like that." And I was like, "Come on, like there's horrible people, and then this is just going too far."
I think the moment that broke me in terms of just people's poor motivations for picking on people was when Ray Liotta's character was at that party clearly trying to hit on that girl and using the fact that he, his father died and they buried him that morning, despite the fact that he threw Hubie into his father's grave, trying to, and then she was just like, "You were old enough to be my grandfather," whatever. Sees Hubie goes past and he's just like, and it was just like, "I've just been dejected by this girl. I'm going to go take it out on Hubie." I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Why?
Ray Liotta's so creepy looking.
Also,
we just acknowledge that for a second. Like, he looks so creepy.
Lucy, I assume as well, you would have seen the character, which was like the woman who was in the Salem Museum and she dumped his word searches in the bin. You didn't see her turn up again, did you? You wouldn't have seen her in another scene. That again, that would rile. Like that, I was just like, why does Adam Sandler think this is funny? She literally just has, I'm like, it's his head. You can imagine it being like, oh yeah, people in Texas will find this funny because people like that are funny. In which you're talking about, Julie Bowen walks away, and, like you said, she's this gorgeous woman, and this woman literally then walks up to Adam Sandler's character and goes, "I am asexual, but I would bang the hell out of that woman." And you're just like, oh, jeez.
It was a nun as well. Yeah. Wasn't she dressed as a nun?
It's because she works in the Salem Museum. She's got a sort of Victorian kind of outfit on.
Oh, she's a
Puritan.
No,
Puritan.
Yeah.
Protestant.
She's a bloody Protestant. We don't abide that in this town.
Bloody Protestant.
She's the Sycorax.
Right. I didn't want to bring up the Northern Ireland dispute, but.
Hey, where are you going?
The only reason any of us chose to watch it was for this, and I think it would be pretty low down on our list of recommendations this Halloween. I was going to say, as an Adam Sandler film, measuring against the yardstick of his career, which is down here, it wasn't horrendous.
2020, as per usual, has been disappointing in its offering of Halloween films, which is why in this episode we are going back to some older Halloween films. So we'll now move on to our next film, which was also a recommendation of Shelley, but you both mentioned this one, didn't you? So you sort of highlighted it as one of your favorite films. So this one is it actually said trick or treat, or is it
treat? Just like the
but it's Americanized. It's like trick or treat, trick or treat.
The reason they actually called it that, it was meant to be Trick or Treat, but there was already a film from the 80s called Trick or Treat that's like a weird rock. It's like a rock star accidentally dies or kills himself, and then this kid is playing his music and accidentally brings him back to life. It's bizarre. It's not very good either. Let's not talk about that. Sorry.
Wait. That's not the film we were talking about? 'Cause that's the film I watched. Okay, I might be a bit useless in this discussion, guys.
You can talk about that one if you want.
No, it's fine. I don't think it. I don't think it fits the theme. I thought it was a bit weird. I was like, this is nice musically, but I've no idea.
So, why is it that you both love this film? It was released in 2007. It's very much like said trick or treating. It's got the pumpkins and the orange leaves, but it takes very much that kind of horror story aspect, doesn't it? 4 individual stories, lots of different characters, lots of different tropes. What do you think is so good about it?
It got recommended to me as a really underrated horror film about, it must have been about 10 years ago now. And so I watched it sort of when I was having a Halloween movie day, and it was the one that stuck out massively for me. And I thought, how had I never heard of this? And it's so good. And so, I always mention it if people want to watch a new sort of horror or Halloween-y film that they might not have seen before. That's my go-to. But I know Lucy was really, really emphatic about wanting this, whereas I just sort of mentioned it, so I'll let you introduce it a bit further if you want.
It's honestly the best Halloween film there is. I'm a Halloween film connoisseur. It's just got everything you want from a Halloween film. The fact that it's like an anthology, so you're covering all the bases, and it feels really short. Every time I watch it, it's we're already we're done. And it's got that very that sort of Salem, New England kind of vibe. I can't remember where it's set. Is it New Orleans?
It's the fictional town of Warren Valley, Ohio.
Oh, it is. Yeah. So Midwest kind of. Well, no,
but it's it's set in this town where Halloween is a very big deal, which I love because it's I want to live in a town like that. And it follows, all the stories are different, but they're all interwoven. So it starts off, you're following this couple who are done with Halloween, and they were going home, and the wife is okay, let's clear up all the Halloween stuff, and the husband's oh no, you're meant to that's the rules, you're not meant to clear it up yet. And she's don't be silly, just go upstairs, put the videotape on, and then I'll come up and finish you off in a bit, once I'm done with this. Which we love a sex positive couple. So she starts clearing it up, and then he falls asleep whilst watching the porn video, which men just do better. Do you know what? Just be better. Anyway, so then he's wait a minute. He wakes up and he's she's been a while. What's going on? He goes downstairs. She's been murdered because she blew out the jack-o'-lanterns too early. And then it's the titles. And then you go into the 4 stories. But as you're seeing the stories unfold, you're seeing other stories
interwoven.
Sort of passing them by, interwoven. They're I was going to say the president, not the president. The
that episode of
the
the episode of Treehouse of Horror, where it keeps going into the next story via the gum being spit off, going into the squishies and stuff. No,
it's
anyone?
Very
no.
that. No, it's very that. I love Treehouse of Horror. Yeah, it's very that, and I love that. I
love a good horror anthology,
it's
VHS.
just such a good way of doing it. Oh, VHS! I watched that the other day. Let's just talk about that.
Yeah, I think you're right as well in the length and the story aspect of it. It really lends itself to the time of year of Halloween. So again, it's kind of like Night Before Christmas. That's only an hour and 10 minutes. And I think that's where, obviously a lot of films have the problem of being oh God, this is 2.5 hours or something. But yeah, when you're talking about horror and especially Halloween, you're you don't need to stretch it out for 2 hours, 2.5, because especially with this film, you're telling, 4 stories, and that's all you want and that's all you need. You don't need all this tension building stuff. And that's why I was impressed with that they were able, like you said, to pack in all the stories, interweave them quite well.
It's strange the kind of breadth of horror that I like, because I love Trick or Treat because it's little segments of it throughout, it's not just building to an end. But then a quick nod to one of my other favorite horror films, The Descent. It's maybe an hour and 15, hour and 20 long. Nothing really happens for 45 minutes, and then everyone gets massacred in the last half hour. Spoilers. So yeah, it's very different, but as long as it's done well, I feel it can be done either way,
Yeah.
But if it's drawn out too long, then you kind of lose your suspense, because either you've seen what you're not meant to see, which makes it less scary, or you just get bored because you want that thrill, and you can't really have that adrenaline for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I think as well is that aspect of keeping it like simplified in that town with the same characters. So if you had, for example, when I read there was like an anthology film with 4 stories, I was worried we were going to get this kind of like kids around a fire, like, well, my story is, and you know, you like it's like you're not invested then because you know it's like make believe. It's like kind of like the Wizard of Oz, kind of like, oh, it was all a dream, you know, kind of thing. So the fact that they don't go with that, they do just like, here's 4 stories we're presenting to you, but it's not like told in, you know, like somebody's narrating it or anything like that, which I thought was, you know, they do have the comic, I suppose, but you know, that's just like an aesthetic thing. So I think that was good as well.
The one like linking thing between all of the stories is that absolutely adorable little Halloween creature who is called Sam. I don't think they ever say it in the film. I just know this from like online stuff. They named him Sam. He's got like a
cult following now. Everyone loves Sam.
The original name of Halloween is Samhain, but it's spelled Samhain.
Samhain.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So they called him Sam because it's like the first 3 letters. So it's like short
Pretty
for
cool
Samhain.
detail.
Yeah,
I know, right? I know way too much about this.
Jack would be a bit too on the nose, wouldn't it, if they called him Jack?
Too on the nose. Yeah, that was a
Jack
terrible idea,
O'Lantern.
David. They call me Jack O'Lantern.
Yeah, that's just Jack Skellington's brother in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Jack Skellington's like really like shady brother who's like drinks in the morning. Like, Jack, you need to stop this. It's like, don't you tell me what to do.
He's on the streets with a jacket like, want some pumpkin spice?
There was actually a sketch I watched, which was if Jack Skellington walked into the St. Patrick's Day door, walked into like a little Irish town with his alcohol everywhere. That's where Jack O'Lantern goes.
Just leprechauns fist fighting each other.
I was torn on whether I preferred Sam. I wasn't sure if I liked seeing him without the mask at the end. I was a bit like, I kind of preferred it without because it was less goofy. But one thing I wanted your guys' opinion on is that looking at it on a few film pages, like, you know, IMDb, they do cite it as a horror comedy. And I was like, oh, okay. So, you know, do you see it as much of a comedy or, you know, because it is very like, you know, it knows what it is.
Definitely makes me laugh. Like, especially with that final story with the old man where he's just like, oh, for sake.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's Brian Cox. Brian
What?
Cox, yeah. The actor's name is Brian Cox, but it's not the.
It's not the Brian Cox.
No.
Just made one hell of a career change. He did this film, had a look at his life, and went, you know what, I'm going back to university, and becomes a top professor.
I also, one of my favorite lines, and I was like, can more people say this in horror films, please, is just when Sam is there and he goes, who the hell are you? And I'm like, thank you, because so many times people are like, and they're like running around, and I'm like, do you even know who that is? You know, like, is this somebody with, you know, but the fact he's like, who the hell are you? I'm like, thank you. You know, this is the question.
This is very believable within like reality. Like when the hand starts moving again, and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Literally, like.
And when he's run out of shotgun slugs, and he just throws it down like, God's sake.
If an old Welsh man got attacked by like a Jason type character, that's how he would react.
This is just bloody ridiculous.
Oh, for God's sake, I wanted to do my life today.
This film just sounds like an absolute mood.
It's honestly, it's so good. It's very glossy, and I like that. I like when like a film, it like uses its budget well, because like it looks beautiful.
And the horror, the gore isn't like Tarantino stupid, like level. It's not like comic book gore. It's you know when the kids like throwing up the candy and stuff at the beginning. I was actually like, oh God.
Yeah, I was like, is this actually Augustus Gloop? He like looked like that kid.
I love that vibe. I love that like reference.
It kind of reminded me of what was that kid's program that used to be on CITV, the like stop motion, and it'd flip between different stories. Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids, I think that. It kind of reminded me of that kind of, yeah. But yeah, it go like you said as well, Lucy. It goes to that like, you know, it goes to the theatrics with the music as well. I think the kids from the bus, their masks are really creepy. Like that kid who has like a paper bag with like a smile. I was like, oh, that's really disturbing.
This film is like has influenced my life so much that if I'm in the car with my boyfriend, whenever he's driving anywhere, I'll just turn to him and be like, wrong way, wrong way.
Oh, God.
Wrong way. And it's the most creepy thing, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So if he stops for petrol and comes back and you're in the driver's seat, he is very freaked out.
Straight over that cliff.
Next to a quarry, yeah.
Lucy, I told you not to get in the driver's seat next to the quarry.
The great thing, if we compare this to Hubie Halloween, this film isn't ableist either, I wouldn't say. Some of the characters are.
I think
comeuppance.
That story is actually the darkest one, because it's like, for people who are listening who are like, don't care about spoilers, a school bus takes all of these special needs children to school every day, and the parents just like don't want the kids anymore, which is like one of the darkest things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And this is told so brilliantly by this group of kids, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go to where that bus got dumped off the cliff, and the blonde girl, who's evil and I love her, she is telling the story of like what happened with these kids, and she like says like these kids were like just like, what was it, like a burden? That's how the parents saw them, and like their dirty secret, and they just wanted rid of them. So they paid the bus driver to chain them to the bus and push them off the cliff of the quarry so that they wouldn't have to deal with them anymore.
Into water so that they drown.
Some water so they'll drown. And then the kids go down to like light some pumpkins for them and like scare Wanda, the little witch girl who I identify with so much.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about as well. Like she gets her own back on them being nasty to her and like freaking her out.
Exactly. When I saw that character, I was like, oh, please don't go down the road of like, this pick on this girl, or she's weird, like she's going to be the one who's like caused it all. I was like, yeah, I'm glad that she was kind of, can't call her a hero because she did get her revenge. But yeah, she came out of it as the sort of like main character. She wasn't like, the butt of a joke, or she wasn't like the one who was controlling it all or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's what I love about, because there's that one where that's the big, like all of them have a little bit of a twist. And with that one, that's the big twist, is that, oh, the story is real. Like they're not just scaring this like weird witchy girl. That story is real, and the ghosts come and like kill all those other kids. And then the little witchy girl Wanda, who looks so much like the woman who plays, is it Velma in Scooby-Doo, the live action one? She looks like the spitting image of her. It's so weird.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I think it's the glasses and the brown hair, to be honest. It's like the twist of like, oh, she gets away and she's fine. But then the werewolf one, let me tell you something about the werewolf story, okay? First time I watched this film, I knew exactly where it was going. I was like, oh, okay, so like this vampire person is going to end up killing, is it Anna Paquin? Is that her name?
Yeah.
She's in True Blood. She's dressed as Red Riding Hood. I was like, this vampire guy is going to go and kill her. And like, I was like, this is very predictable. And then when she gets to the place where all the other girls are, and she's like, oh, he tried to bite me, and I was like, wait, something's happening that I wasn't prepared for. It was just so well done. Like, that twist, I was not seeing it. And then when they turn into werewolves, it is one of the most brilliant scenes I've ever seen, with the Marilyn Manson track playing over it. It's just so cool, and I just want to be a sexy werewolf girl and just kill people on Halloween. That's all I want. That, and I want to be the little weird witch girl. I just want to be every character in this film. I also want to be Sam. Actually, I want to have a baby and then make it dress like Sam. I don't want to be.
That is an absolute roller coaster of emotions right there.
Welcome to my mental state 2020.
Yeah, that's Lucy's life right there. Like, I want to be this character, then have a child, then...
No, I want to be... No,
It's just such a good film.
Yeah, and like I said, it's, they embrace the theatrics of it. Like I said, the music is very intense, very like, Halloween. Again, like slightly going back to Hubie Halloween, but I remembered that there was a weird... in that emotional moment at the end, they had pretty much the Edward Scissorhands music. And I was like, why are you using this music in this like moment with the mother and everything? I was like, you've literally just ripped off the Edward Scissorhands music. But again, in this instance, it was very much like a kind of Danny Elfman music, but they earn it. They deserve that, to have that kind of music, which I think is also good. So yeah, unlike Hubie Halloween, very much a big recommend. Very scary, funny, and yeah, filled with a lot of
100%.
I don't know if, like, because whenever I mention this film to people, no one I know has heard of it except for people who I've told about this film. So I don't know if it was like big in America or something. But like, this is such an underrated like horror Halloween like gem.
Yeah, it's I hadn't heard of it until I think it was when what was the is it Scary Stories came out, that sort of that film. Somebody mentioned to me that they were like, oh, I'm really looking forward to this film because I love Trick or Treat, which is like the same kind of thing. So that was the first time I had seen about it. But yeah, it's got a big cult following, which is why they want to do the sequel. But like you said, it's surprising there hasn't been anywhere else because, yeah, you would think the streaming services especially would want to be like, hey, we want some Halloween films to push at this time of year. So go check it out wherever you can. You know, unfortunately, it's not on like Netflix or something like Hubie Halloween. Damn you, Hubie. But yeah, check it out if you can, guys. It's very fun. And yeah, we'll go on to our last film, which was also recommended by Lucy, which will be an interesting discussion because this one again is very different, and I'll be interested to know what your thoughts are with this one. It's Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, which you emphasize as well is the one film which is outside of the Halloween mythos and storytelling. It doesn't have Michael Myers, etc. So why did you want to bring this film up today?
Okay, so let me paint you a little picture. Right, it's 1979 or 78, whatever year the first Halloween film came out. And it's like roaring success. Really launched like the slasher genre into like a new era. It's perfection. It's still now it's possibly the best slasher film, like in my opinion anyway. So they were like, yeah, this is great. The problem was the people who made it, they had this idea that every year or every 2 years they'd make a Halloween film. So it would be like, that was Halloween 1, Halloween 2, just completely different. It's an anthology series. So I think they had like 5 in mind. So the first one was about like Michael Myers, it's a slasher. The second one was going to be something else. The third one, something else. Fourth one, something else. Because it was such a success, the studio that made it were like, actually, can we like, we'll give you a second film, but it has to be about Michael Myers. And then you can do the third film about something else. And they were like, okay, I guess like this is how we're going to make this anthology series that we want to make. So they made the second one, which isn't that good. But then they got to make the third one. The problem was people were like, we love Michael Myers. Yay, there's a third one now. And then they went to see it and Michael Myers isn't in it. It's nothing to do with the first 2 films. And to the point where they put the first Halloween film in it, like at one point someone's watching the first Halloween film. So people just hated it. And it just got absolutely like dragged. Just like people loathed and detested this film. But now, in more recent years, people have gone back and watched it and been like, actually, this film's really cool. And it's got like fun Halloween vibes. And it's got like quite an interesting story. People just hated it at the time. You know, like Futurama got cancelled because it wasn't The Simpsons. It was like this got cancelled because it wasn't Michael Myers. I just think this film is so underrated. It's so like fun and just weird. Like the storyline is like they're witches from Stonehenge, and they're gonna kill all the kids in like a big like pagan sacrifice by using Halloween masks. And the creepy song that is literally my boyfriend's ringtone.
You're joking.
That would scare me.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock. 8 minutes, children, put on your masks. I've also got a shirt that's got the 3 different masks, the witch, the skull, and the pumpkin. I was going to wear it, but I'm very warm because the heating's on. It's just such a good film, and I really wish that they had been able to like go ahead with their anthology and made like the 5. It might have been 10 actually, but I think it was 5. Just these like 5 completely different like Halloween stories, but they just didn't because this one got so panned. The reviews were terrible and it made no money. So they just didn't make a third one, and then they just kept making Michael Myers films to the point that they became absolutely ridiculous. Like Tyra Banks is in one of them.
It happens to a lot of franchises. Like I'm trying to think of like another specific example. I can't think of it now, but like you said, there is that storyline of like, you know, we say things like Star Wars and stuff where they're like, oh, you know, there's that one, but nobody likes that one because it doesn't have so and so, or it doesn't have this, and so it's that fan backlash of like people know what they want, you know.
It's very different to the first 2. Like it's not a slasher at all, and if you're like just like into slashers, I completely understand why you wouldn't enjoy this film. But like just for like a fun Halloween horror film, it ticks all of the boxes for me. And yeah, like doing witches as the villain, I've seen it done so many times in very like poor ways, but I think this is like quite interesting because it's all like men in like business suits. It's not like like 3 crones over like a bubbling cauldron, and it's like, wow, we're gonna like kill all the kids. It's like these like businessmen. It's so genius. I love this film so much. Anyway, you guys talk now because I have not shut up for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, like you said, it's interesting that they go, because that's why I thought Season of the Witch, and I was like, there's so many films that don't really embrace that idea of like witches being like big characters, unless they go down. Like I said, they either like do them badly, or I just saw like one film which like it was one of Craig's like guilty pleasures, which is Hansel and Gretel, where they very much are like the crooked noses and that kind of thing.
I love that film.
So it is very much different in that sense, that you have that representation of them, and it is really different. It's really like kooky, and the fact that guy, the main character sort of says, that's the only time you really sort of get an idea for what it is. He goes, it's witchcraft. And I was just like, I was like, well, there's our confirmation of Season of the Witch. He calls it witchcraft in that moment. So yeah, I can see how it's like a sort of cult favorite, because it is very different, very strange. I think the only thing that let it down for me is just that technically it wasn't, structured quite well enough, and there's some weird editing and some weird performance parts of it. Like the girl, is it Ellie? Like she's literally like, my papa and all that, and I'm like, I was like, I could get on board with it with things like Trick or Treat, and when they're trying to go for that cheesy, but I was just like, are they going for like the Beauty and the Beast vibes? Is this just this the Halloween's version of like papa, oh my papa's car, and then the whole like well, you don't have to sleep in the room, and he's just like, do you want me to? And I was like, oh god.
That moment, I was just like, dude, you are helping a girl trying to avenge her father who got murdered in your hospital. Now is not the time to A, get off with her at all, B, get off with her twice, and then ask, by the way, how old are you? That seems like a question that should have come up before you were driving to Santa, wherever it was.
I love that this guy, during this like conspiracy about like the witches want to like kill a bunch of kids and this girl's father died, he's like, I'm gonna try and lay some pipe. Like that was that guy's like that was his thought process. Like, I know we're trying to like stop all of this evil going on, but like it ain't gonna suck itself. Like, I love that. But I respect the game.
But even with like Ellie as well, it's almost as if like I think, is it after the fellow shopkeepers died? It's kind of like the next day where she's like, oh my god, we really need to get to this company. I was like, it's as if she forgot about why they were there in the first place. That she was just like, oh.
They both went to sleep quite happily. After they hear in the room next to him a woman having her face lasered off.
Yeah, he was just like, oh, just leave it.
I'm not going to lie, the effects of that scene made me laugh for a good solid 5 minutes.
It reminded me of the YouTube, the like lasers collection, where it's like, I'm a fire in my laser, and then it's just like a mouth with like a blue light. It was like that. I was just like... But I do love as well how this film literally, like, it's in the 80s, so it's potential that they saw this inspiration. He essentially just stops the bad guy with pogs. He's just like, just tipping over some like ball caps, and they're like getting like thwarted by like pogs essentially, and they're like, short circuiting from just a bunch of like discs. I'm like, okay.
I did wonder why that was going to work when he put on the commercials. I was like, why are you doing this? You know what it does, and they're all robots. That's not going to affect them. Like, what are you doing? And then he did that, and it was just firing the lasers. Like, oh, that was actually a really intelligent thing.
It was a very smart thing.
I thought he was
Is this a horror film?
I know. I have seen, again, like where Trick or Treat was like horror comedy, they have put it as sort of like horror science fiction, which I think makes sense. But yeah, I thought he might Iron Man it and sort of like laser them from, from the back of the chip or something. But I also do love like the 80s-ness of it. You have those like synth sound effects of when the gloves are standing there. But by the way, if they're robots, why do they need gloves? There's no fingerprints to be left by them. But
how else are they going to nicely rub off the blood on onto some hospital curtains.
It's true, yeah. But I found it hilarious when, like, you know, they're standing there and you have that, like, synth sound effect, and it just made me feel as if we were going to, like, transition into Jungle Love. Like, I feel if, you know, Matthew Vaughn I feel in, like, 2020, if Matthew Vaughn or someone was directing this, that would have happened. They would have just broken into Jungle Love as they're fighting the robots at the end of the movie.
Can I tell you about my favourite scene in that film? Because I just made so many jokes there. I thought it was great. It's when the robot comes in to the hospital, kills the guy by, you know, gouging his eyes out, wipes the blood off the hospital on the curtains. He goes to leave. The nurse is there. Is like, "What are you doing here?" He just casually walks past her, and it's just like, "Oh yeah, because when I kill someone, I like to leave some witnesses." And then just runs out of the hospital, gets in his car, douses himself in like petrol, and lights himself on fire. I'm just like, what?
I had to commend the commitment. I was like, yeah, you know.
That's right, listeners. You just heard Craig McDonald say, "Kill nurses." That's what he just said.
No, I wasn't. No, let's be fair. This wasn't job specific. I'm just saying, if you don't want to arouse suspicion, why have you literally left someone see what you've done?
The best scenes in this film, in my opinion, are the bit where the kid they're in the actual like facility and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna like test out some new like products or some new adverts for you guys," and they're in a room and like the mum opens the curtains and it's just like a brick wall. Yeah. And then it's like, "Put on your mask," and the kid puts on his mask and you see what is going to happen. And knowing that the main character's kids have those same masks, that is like brilliant. And the way that like the mask degrades and all the like snakes and stuff come out.
Yeah.
That is really good. I love that bit. And then I also love the final bit where he's like, "It's still on one channel. It's still on one of the channels. You need to make it stop." And that's just the end of the film. And it's like, okay, he didn't win. There we go. Thousands of children are dead now. Just a brilliant way to end a film, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I did really like the ending. I thought it...
really brutal.
I thought that I also loved that scene with the effects of the insects and the snakes coming out of the kid's head. I thought it was sort of undermined by the weird ways that the parents then die.
Yeah, just a little bite, you know.
It hasn't even bitten his leg. It's just bitten his trouser, and he's like, "Oh, get off!" Yeah.
I'm like that. That's what I was thinking. I was like, is the plan for it to be like we're gonna like kill off all these children so it has an effect on the generations to come or whatever, or is it no? Like we want to kill families, but we'll kill them through the snakes and the bugs that sort of like seep out and poison people. I was like, that's what I was like in my head, but. I also just found it, I was like, how many snakes are going to come out of this kid? Like, it's just like the bugs come out and there's just one snake after another. I was like, wow, there's a lot of snakes here. But yeah, like you said earlier as well, Lucy, it's just the Stonehenge. I was like, this is so strange. Like the fact they're literally like, you know, like, oh, we're taking rock from, you know, Stonehenge, etc. And I'm sure like, is like the National Trust or whoever owns Stonehenge would watch that and be like, we don't appreciate that this is what you're suggesting, that this like, you know, ancient monument or wonder of the world could do this. You know, usually it's made out that this like a portal to another world or something, but no, it's something that kills children. Like,
don't go to Stonehenge, guys, especially on Halloween, because your kids will turn into snakes and then you and your kids will die.
So remember, listeners, David Oscar said it first. Giant stones shouldn't kill children.
But yeah, Halloween 3, a strange, you know, again, a sort of cult classic, which is like indicative of that time, which like I said is sort of a theme, I think, throughout all of them. Incorporates trick-or-treating, not necessarily like massively scary, but has a lot of like horror elements and tropes. And yeah, it's just, you know, creepy and weird, which again makes it quite like apt for Halloween viewing, because it might not again necessarily be like loads of jump scares. It's just like an intriguing story which has like, you know, about, you know, witchcraft and that kind of stuff.
I think they should remake it. I think it's a very interesting film. I mean, they've made so many Michael Myers films, and then they did the complete reboot, the Rob Zombie version, which I actually do quite like. I think they could do this. I think someone could make a really cool film out of this story.
Like an app that does like the... instead
I was thinking that, yeah, like a streaming. It's like, oh, there's like a new like Halloween thing that all the kids are going to love, and it's on like Netflix, but whatever the version in the film is. But then when they watch it, it kills them all.
Let's be fair, that's pretty much what TikTok is slowly developing itself to do.
But I do love a bargain. So like, even if the mask was potentially going to kill me, I probably still would be sucked in.
There's a lot of statements being made in this episode about killing nurses. You know, if it's going to kill children, why not buy the mask? You know.
Can I just say officially for the record, I am 100% not in support of killing nurses. I am not a Tory.
Oh.
Clap for nurses.
So back again, guys, to woo or boo with Tories. No, I joke.
We covered that off.
Boo, 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 boo.
We covered
Boo
that.
your local Tory MP.
We covered that off with Katie Hopkins.
Boo,
So, yeah, guys, that is the 3 films that we are discussing today. We now go to our final segment, which is the movie vault. So, out of these films that we have discussed, do you believe that any of them should be saved for all time for people to go back to as that classic horror or Halloween film that they should watch every Halloween? What do we think?
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Yeah. It did seem a big consensus of that one. Like I said, definitely not Hubie Halloween.
No.
I mean, when you
David, I'm holding
messaged
an
us
axe right now.
both, we both said it as one of the first things that we wanted to talk about. And then Lucy messaged me saying, "You stole my idea, you bitch." Yeah, Trick or Treat, definitely.
Yeah, not Trick or Treat, which Craig accidentally watched. But yeah,
Although I would also recommend that.
Just like a side note, this is completely unrelated to anything. The first time me and Shelley met was on the podcast in February, and like our relationship is one of the most bizarre things going on in my life, and I love it so much. So like, thank you
I'm
to
a
the
chaotic
podcast.
energy.
Yeah.
The pure Sycorax energy
Yeah.
Chaotic good.
bringing people together.
from our friendship.
Chaotic neutral, let's be honest.
Also, that's probably the most millennial experience I've ever had. It's like, oh, this is my friend. I met her on a podcast we were both on. Like, how irritatingly hipster is that?
Bringing people together since 2020. Not many people can say that, you know, that we are the one podcast that can say that, guys.
A well good friendship.
So
That's what our podcast could be called, Shell. Good friendship.
So, yeah, I think today going into the movie vault is Trick or Treat. In it goes. It is perfect for Halloween, like I said. Nice and short, horror stories, lots of typical cliches of horror films. Go check it out because, like we said as well, you know, it's a cult film. Not many people have seen it, so we highly recommend it. But now, guys, we go on to our final part of the episode, which is more Halloween fun, which is our traditional and this time spooky endgame.
I'm limbering up. I'm ready.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a title on the line here after Shelley's, you know, infamous win last time. So,
Gobble, gobble. Better be an answer this time.
Okay, endgame time. This is going to be a very simple one, but welcome to the Monster Mash.
Woo!
It's based
My reaction was completely silently looking down. Like,
So this is basically what it says on the tin. So we have taken the song "The Monster Mash," but we've basically done something a little bit different. We've rewritten every single one of the verses to be dedicated in some way to some of our favorite characters in terms of like movie monsters or horror or like horror aesthetic characters. So they could be like any variation of like the classic monsters, you know, they could be characters that are related to dark films. But basically, we want you to listen to me sing every single one of the verses of this new version of the Monster Mash. And we want you to tell us at the end who that verse is dedicated to.
okay. I'm
Are we-
ready. I'm so
Yes.
ready.
Okay. I was working in the lab on a stormy night, the lightning above full my power and might, for my monster from his slab began to thrive, and suddenly I exclaimed, "It's alive!" He did the mash, he did the monster mash, the monster mash. It was a graveyard smash, he did the mash. It was caught in a flash, he did the mash, he did the monster mash. So,
Woo! Very good.
That was beautiful.
okay, Shelley, who is that verse dedicated to?
That was dedicated to Frankenstein's monster, I think, or Frankenstein. But as we know, he is the scientist, not the monster.
Lucy?
Yeah, it was obviously Frankenstein. I'm going to get more specific, and it's the one from the 1930s.
Okay, so was it Frankenstein / Frankenstein's monster? Yep. So it was actually Dr. Frankenstein specifically, because as Shelley pointed out, because it was talking about the creation of the monster, not necessarily the monster itself.
Yeah,
so
the lightning.
So you both get a point.
Okay.
Woo!
Okay. Are we ready for verse number 2?
So ready.
Yeah.
Okay. From outer space we set our scene, where nobody could possibly hear you scream. The ugly creature with a killer frame, and a mouth on his tongue with which to maim. They did the mash. They did the monster mash. The monster mash was a graveyard smash. They did the mash. It wore on in a flash. They did the mash. They did the monster mash. Lucy, who is it dedicated to?
It's the xenomorph from Alien.
Shelley?
I just want to...
I mean, you broke up massively there, so I...
Sorry, it's because I moved my phone to show you that I'd written Alien. I didn't want to...
Okay, so is it Alien? It is. However, I'm going to give a bonus point to Lucy for specifically specifying it's the xenomorph.
Oh.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Okay.
I also think that's fair, actually. I agree with you.
Of course you do.
Also, side note, Craig, you look amazing today, and your singing is beautiful.
One of those things is true. Okay.
I've duetted with him, and I know it's beautiful. And that's why I chose him to duet with.
Okay, this is going into uncomfortable territories now, because it's like if I don't award points for this like over flattery, like, I'm just going to open myself up to a load of abuse.
It's never happened before where people try to bribe Craig, but of course it would happen when we got Lucy and Shelley back on the podcast, especially considering Lucy was just awarding herself her own points in the last episode.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I could just award myself points. Okay, I forgot.
Okay, so the next bit isn't a full verse, it's the little addition before the next verse. So we'll play that and then the verse. So are we ready for this bit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm so ready.
The guests were all having fun. The party had just begun. The mum, dad, boy and girl, a ball of hair and a hand. So because you haven't got a chorus to listen to, I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about this one.
I've got it.
Okay, Shelley, who is it?
Well, it's the Addams Family, I thought.
Okay, Lucy?
I also wrote Adam's Family. Ah!
Is it the Addams Family? Yes, it is.
Du-du-du-dum.
I failed at clicking so hard there. The scene was rocking, all were digging the stage, when our primate protagonist started to rage. To climb that tower he headed east. In the end, 'twas beauty that killed the beast. They played the mash. They played the monster mash. The monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. They played the mash. It caught on in a flash. They played the mash. They played the monster mash. Right. Oh, I thought Shelley just realised the answer, so went, ow.
Oh. No, I've written it down.
She just stepped on a piece of Lego and, you know.
Oh.
All right. So, Lucy, who do you think that was dedicated to?
It's King Kong, innit?
Shelley?
Yeah, I wrote that. Oh, can you see it?
Show me King Kong.
King Kong.
Yeah, it's King Kong. Yep. That famous line
That
of...
bonus point is just going to win you this, because we're gonna get him.
Are we ready for the next verse?
Yeah.
Yes.
From bad film series her voice did ring, bad acting, bad writing, and sparkling. Emotionless face she lifted and then said, whatever happened to my Jacob or Red? It's now the mash. It's now the monster mash. The monster mash. It was a graveyard smash. It was mash. Put on in a flash. It's now the mash. It's now the monster mash. All right, Shelley, who is that dedicated to?
Bella Swan from Twilight.
Lucy?
Played by Kristen Stewart.
I was going to say, like, put in as much information as you can.
Who was also in Adventureland. And
I wrote Elvira, and I think I got it wrong.
Oh.
Okay, so let's start with this. Is it Elvira? Is it Bella Swan from Twilight?
I was thinking of Elvira when we were talking about the Hubie radio voice. I was like, oh, it's like Elvira, kind of like.
Very Elvira.
Yeah, no, so the sparkling is a reference, obviously, to the Twilight sparkling vampires. Jacob and Ed is obviously Jacob and Edward, the big debate.
Yeah, I like the exchange of the, like, what happened to my Transylvania twist? You know?
Yeah.
I've just thought of another joke that I enjoyed in Hubie Halloween is every single woman dressed up as Harley Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
All of them. That was hilarious.
All the newsreaders, yeah.
Yeah, and the little girl. Yeah.
Right. So we've got one more verse, and then we've got like a little exchange at the end.
Can I get a bonus point there for knowing it was because...
Well, no, you get a point, whereas I don't
get a bonus point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing that still makes it fair at this point. So
Craig will look back on the game at the end.
So I'm not able to get bonus
points. Why would you get a bonus point for just knowing my answer? I got a bonus point for added thing.
Yeah, you need to know, like, Bella's full name, like Elizabeth Sorno.
Isabella. It's Isabella.
That's a bonus point to lose. I'm joking.
Yeah, I was like, Elizabeth Swan. I was like, what?
Okay.
All
okay,
right,
are we
fine.
ready? Are we ready for... Oh, no, to be fair, I think this is a good opportunity for people to potentially get that specificity for points.
Oh. Okay. I'm ready.
Or this is the one verse where if you just want to go for a humorous answer instead, I may give you bonus points. So it's not a stipulation.
Don't encourage them, Craig. Don't encourage them.
Okay. Next verse. Stalking a child in a yellow coat, the clown that tells him that everything floats, pain and suffering in Derry, Maine. When he lures that child down to the drain, they get mashed. And mash the monster mash and do my graveyard smash. Then you can mash. You catch it all in a flash. Then you can mash. Then you can monster mash. Okay. Lucy, who is that dedicated to?
So it's someone that is a clown.
Yep.
And kills kids.
Yep.
It's Boris Johnson, isn't it?
Shelley, who is that dedicated to?
I mean, I can't top that for a humorous answer, so I'll just say Pennywise from It.
Is it Pennywise? Yeah, it's Pennywise the clown. David, so that's a point to Shelley. What are our scores at now?
If it's a point to Shelley there, it is 5-6 to Shelley.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do to make it interesting. The last section, I want you to listen very carefully. This will be a reaction first. So basically, the moment you think you know who this is dedicated to, just say it. The fastest person will get 2 points. Spoiler, this might not necessarily be a film character, but it is someone related to film. Okay? So are we ready for the last little exchange bit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mash good, my friends. Easy, teabag, you impetuous young boy. Mash good. Grrr. Easy now.
Cigarettes.
Get back to the movie vault now. That's the way. Stop trying to dictate my life. And get back. Get away from me. Stop controlling my life and my contributions on this podcast. That's the way.
Is it you?
Is the answer me?
I was like, is it me? Is I controlling my life?
I have no idea what just happened.
I mean, I yelled Sycorax in the middle of it, just panic.
Oh, yeah. Sycorax.
Mash good. Mash good. Mash good. Stop controlling my life.
Can I just say the lyrics that I think are probably going to be the things that will get you the closest?
Yeah.
So I said, easy D-bag, you impetuous young boy. Easy now, get back to the movie vault and stop controlling my life and this contribution on the podcast.
Adam Sandler.
Shelley has now used all three of her guesses, who is basically...
I haven't got a bloody clue.
Okay.
Is it right. David?
Is it David?
Oh.
Yeah, it's David.
Oh.
I almost like give you the clue as well. And I didn't even know the answer. I was like, is it me? Is it? I don't know. It was like another it happened again, the gobble goggle. It was like where Lucy said, is that right? And like Craig was like, I don't know, is it?
Yeah. So that one was hard. So what I'll do is I'll now give David the opportunity just to reveal the tiebreaker. I think that's going to be...
Oh, God. So just 1 point to Lucy, so yeah, 6-all.
At this point, yeah.
Okay, so again, fastest first, or whoever gives the closest to the actual answer. What year did Bobby Boris Pickett's Monster Mash originally come out? In what year did Bobby Boris Pickett's Monster Mash originally come out?
1951.
1963.
So... the answer is 1962. So Lucy is the
winner. Congratulations.
I would give you the little trophy they gave me last time, but I threw it away.
Oh, no.
Oh my god. That's brutal, Shell.
Didn't care.
I do it's just an honor to be on the podcast, but winning is what it's all about, and I'm just really glad that I could absolutely annihilate Shelley because she did pick Trick or Treat.
Best of three, mate. Best of three.
So we'll do the Christmas
come back
one
for another summer special.
Well done, Lucy, and thank you both for being on this Halloween special. It's been lots of fun. It's brought some light and great entertainment to our lockdown, and I'm sure it will do the same for everybody at home. Where can we catch you both? Where are the best places to check out all your wonderful content? And
Instagram, knitwear cat hair. It's probably just what I post because I travel a lot and things like that.
Awesome. Check it out. And Lucy is on TikTok because she's down with the kids.
Do you know what? I'm on TikTok. My name is Lucifer Queen on TikTok. I'm also Lucifer Queen on Instagram and Lucifer Queen on Twitter. You can also catch me on OnlyFans. It's $4.99 at the moment, which is an absolute bargain. And that is onlyfans.com/devil called Lucy.
And the writer of Trick or Treat who came up with that werewolf twist, they'll definitely be following you.
Yeah,
they know they've got to, they're like, I know this person's into me already because I come up with that werewolf idea.
If the writer wants to just DM me, I'll send you the free trial link. So also, that's what everyone is getting for Christmas this year, just so you all know. So it's just a free trial to my OnlyFans.
So thank you guys for both joining us. It's been loads of fun. Like you said in that Valentine's episode, you both emphasized that you wanted to be on talking about horror, and we have fulfilled that, and we can't wait to have you back on again. Please do check out our socials as well, which is Well Good Movies on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also check us at freshtakehub.com, where we also have a lot of Halloween goodies and horror linked stuff on the website. There's top 10 animated villains on there at the moment, which Lucy, you had one of these tattooed on you not long ago, which was crazy coincidence. I was talking with the writer about it. So him from the Powerpuff Girls, which, like I said, if you search up the YouTube videos when you've forgotten how creepy they are, you remember how horrifying that character is at certain moments. But infamous for a good reason. It's a fantastic character. You can also check out the most haunted movies, and I also did a piece on Hocus Pocus, looking back at why that is such a great nostalgic piece of filmmaking. Craig, anything lastly from yourself?
I don't feel as mentally scarred as last time, so great mentality going into Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody!
Trick or treat! After the end of these films, I was like, I've had enough of hearing Trick or Treat now. There's so many times. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with it. So
I don't think you'll be hearing it that much this year.
No, I don't think so. Check out Trick or Treat, guys, and as well, if you want to go through it, Hubie Halloween, but also Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. We've had a lot of fun today, guys, and we can't wait to have you on the podcast again, which I'm sure will, maybe it won't be holiday themed, maybe. And you can also check out Shelley and Lucy's podcast, Well Good Friends, starring Mr. Grass, which I'm sure will be up very soon. So thank you everybody, and have a happy Halloween.
Happy
Halloween. Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye.